Hi, my name is Stan. Let's talk about building boats for a few moments. I know it's not everybody's favorite subject, but I like it. Why build a boat? Well, because you like to be on the water. You're a fisherman, or you just like to be out in the okay. One way to get a boat is to go to a storage yard and ask the manager if they have anything for sale. Somebody who's missed payments or something like that. And sometimes you can get a boat like for $100. It might not have a very good engine, but storage yards. But these aren't the boats I'm talking about. I'm talking about a small boat, a rowboat, like a 12-foot rowboat. Okay, nowadays, of course, there's kayaks, there's paddle boards, there's canoes, there's windsurfers, there's all kinds of little things in the water, but I don't see any rowboats. What are some of the advantages of a rowboat? Or that they're usually car toppable, or they can be, or in the truck. They can be launched almost in many places besides a launching ramp. You can stand up in them. You can carry two people. It's a pretty good platform for doing different this rowing exercise I enjoy. Um, so the rowboat has certain. I'm looking around here because I have notes over here. And there's different kinds of building techniques. There's cold mold. There's fiberglass. There's plywood, multi-tine plywood, strip plank. I like just regular conventional planking. Regular conventional planking. A lot of people go, "Holy smokes, man! That's way too much work." Well, they all are. Some of the cold molding, you got staples and gluing and plywood. You've got big sheets that might be hard to line up. So planking is a conventional, old-fashioned way of doing them. And some of the advantage of planking that the pieces are all smaller. You can manhandle them pretty well, lady handle them, whatever you want to say. So that's what I like about. It's one of the things about the old conventional planking technique. Planks and frames. I like to use one of my ways of building. I build them backwards. I take the sometimes if I have plans or make my own plans, I loft it all out, and the wood doesn't want to do what I had in mind. So I do the reverse. I start out with the way the wood. I ask the wood, "What do you want to do?" Okay, so I make a keel, and then I put a center mold in it, a center frame, and then I take a couple of battens, and I put it on the boat and bend them all around. And then I move the battens in and out, and until I see the shape I like. Making it full here, less buoyancy here, more buoyancy there, and then I get what I want. And then I use kind of a temporary mold, pieces of wood to hold that in place. And then I go get my cardboard and I make a grid, and then I transfer all the half frame shapes onto that, and then I flop that over to make the full frame. Then you have a cardboard template that you can go ahead and make your frames on. I like to use cut frames and steam bent frames. That's a whole different subject. Okay, on the planking of a boat, there's several things of interest. When you're building a boat, like it's called a soft shine, and it's easy curves. It's kind of long and slender. Those planks, they do some twisting, but not a whole lot. You got to bevel them and you got to shape them some, taper them a little bit, cup them out, turn the chine a little bit. But the kind of boats I like are these double enders, like short, fat, squat. Okay, little rowboat. Okay, here's here's the shape of the planks like this. So these planks are going through twists, curves, contortions of all kinds. The wood doesn't want to do anything you want it to do. So that's no big deal. You get them wet, let them soak a little bit, get them hot water all over them, and then you can convince them. They'll do what you want. And so you put them on the boat like that, hot and wet. Okay, and then they'll take a new shape. And then let's talk about the plank shapes themselves. Okay, the first plank is the garboard plank. Okay, it lies along the keel. Okay, then the next one is the second plank out is about the similar shape, and then the third plank out. Okay, starting to take a curve to it. Fourth plank out gets more of a curve. That is like a C shape. Okay, fifth plank out's even more. Okay, now you're coming to the turn of the chine. Now, to turn of the chine, the planks are narrower and not as much curve to them. Okay, now on planks, when I talk about length of a plank, I talk in terms of feet and inches. When I'm talking about the width of a plank, I use millimeters. Like 80 millimeter is about 3 inches. Millimeters are a lot easier to handle. So a plank in the middle, about 80 millimeters. At the ends, they're about 25 in that area. So they're tapered. So the plank has to be tapered on the ends, fat in the middle, skinny at the ends, curved. And you're going, holy smokes, man, that's crazy. How do you get that? Well, we'll get on with all that. So as the planks come around, the turn of the chine, they become straight. So the nature of these planks are narrower, fatter, because you got to make room for beveling and all that stuff. And as you come to the side, they start curving the other direction. So like the turn of the bilge, they got to be cupped out a little bit so that you don't have the plank. Here's the frame, and here's the plank. You don't want the plank to be rocking on the frame. So these are all a bunch of little steps. Like a lot of things, many projects, you don't want to start them unless you're pretty sure you can finish it. And that's the problem with everybody, including me. The details can wear you out. So just keep in mind what the end goal is quite a bit. That helps a lot. Okay, so now one of the big issues here is that the planks, as you bend them around, they don't want to do what you want them to do and all that kind of talk. Okay, when you bend them around here, here's like a profile of a boat. You want that plank to land here. Okay, you want the plank to be right here, but it wants to be up here. So the only way you can achieve that is to cut the plank downward in the very beginning from the piece of wood you got, from the piece of wood. So this is the beginning of my main subject matter, is how you do all that. So that can be pretty. So back to the garboard plank. Here I am flopping all these pieces of cardboard around like I knew what I was doing. Huh? The garboard. Okay, here's the stem. Here's the keel. Here's the stem. See, here's the notch you got to cut, and then the garboard plank lands right in here, and all the other planks have to land in this notch you've made. And so you got to be pretty accurate about that notch. And if you like anything I'm saying, this is interesting to you, don't waste your time subscribing. When it comes to the looks and the likes and don't likes and all that, don't waste your time. I don't care. It's all a bunch of emotional stuff. So here's your plank. Okay, so here, let's represent this as being a 2 by 10 by 12 foot long piece of redwood. I like redwood. I prefer cedar, but redwood's pretty good. Redwood, it has some gluing resins that might cause a little bit of gluing issues, some moisture content issues, but overall pretty stable. Whereas fir, once you cut that fir down to something skinny, it wants to crack and start twisting all around. But fir is a little bit stronger. But so now what you have to do in your region somewhere, you have to go get a lumber yard that has a big green bandsaw. They call it the resaw. That is, they cut their own wood from it, with it. So you got to be able to take the 2 by 12 or 2 by 8 by 10 foot long piece of redwood, and you got to have them rip it. You cut it on edge like that, like 3/8, 5/16, 5/16. So you want to be able to cut all these little skinny pieces out of it. Okay? And that becomes all your planking stock. Now, sure, this is a bunch of little pieces, but I found instead of trying to make too heavy of pieces, this is in general, when you start adding small pieces together and you start crisscrossing them with frames, gunnels, floorboards, and other things, all these things, they add up to make it, they all help each other. They all make it stronger. And they all make it so that there's no big stress points in any one zone. Okay, so here you go. You've got your big C plank, your big C-shaped plank. Now, what you do, here's the same piece of cardboard, pretty much the same shape of plank. Well, first of all, I don't buy the full length, I buy half a piece. Okay. Secondly, when I make my cuts and my planks, I take the one scrap piece. This was a scrap in 1 minute. But I move it down to here. Let's see. Well, anyway, I move it down to the bottom of that plank, and then it gives me provision to have space for the rest of my planks. So, see, here's an orange. I got these color coded: orange, green, and blue, and there's room for one more, so I can get 4 planks or 4 half planks out of that. So, and then notice, I don't know if you can see it, but between each of these planks, there's a gap, a little sliver. So, when the planks are on the boat, the bottom of this plank is the top of that plank. But when you have it on the flat stock, it's so you can't really use a previous existing plank for a template for the next one. The left side and the right side, yes, but the top side and the one plank, the one below it or above it, because as the planks go onto the boat, each plank has its own personality, its own curve, its own problems, its own shape. So you have to pretty much cut them all separately. And I spile my planks, but usually I've built a number of them, and I've gotten pretty good at just guessing out what they're going to be. And then I do that, and then I have my saw blade, and I put the planks up there, and then they're not even, so I take my saw blade here. This goes onto a drill, like this, and I run this blade down the middle of it, and so I get like a 3/16. Well, not 3/16, like a real skinny little gap. That's all there is. And one way to do the seams, I like to use polyurethane. And I take string, put it in the polyurethane. There's a bunch of details. I'm not going to go into all the details, okay? How you do this and how you do that. I'm trying to get the idea of these planks. Is that how the planks are shaped? They got to be tapered, hollowed out, and curved. Now, once you start doing them, once you get the hang of it, just 3 or 4, you get the hang of it. And then all of a sudden it doesn't become that scary. It becomes kind of fun, actually. Now, I don't recommend that you go and try to build a boat right off the bat. Go and build a practice like a 5-foot one first, and then use that one for a planter box. They make great planter boxes. So you can do all that, and then don't let the details mess you all up. And then I think that's about all I have to say about this issue. I'd like to talk about frames someday, but we'll see what happens. Thanks for listening.